If you've ever checked into a hotel, flown on a plane, traveled to another country, been pulled over by a police officer, or even tried to buy beer, you know that in today's world, people won't just ask your name and take your word for it. From checking out a library book to gaining access at the highest security level installations, you have to have an ID. For security teams and organizations, ID and identity verification is a common task performed in access control, in office lobbies, or when opening a bank account. And while ID verification is noted in almost every access control post order, adequate training on how to effectively check someone's ID or verify his or her identity is not often provided. This course aims to close that gap. In this 45-minute training, Chameleon will cover the following topics and more. What a fake ID is. Why a criminal fakes an ID. Why it's important to you. We will discuss human skills and technology. The difference between ID verification and identity verification. We will teach you the different suspicion indicators of a false identification document. You will be given tips on how to evaluate a card for forgery, as seen in this slide from the course. When you have a questionable ID in front of you and don't have access to a guidebook, you can compare the identification to one you know is valid, maybe even your own. Check how similar they are. In particular, compare whether the size, coloring, lettering, and corners are the same. A fake ID may be thinner than a legitimate one. Also, counterfeiters often use different paper or laminate than a legitimate ID. In this example, a security photo of the fake is brighter and more opaque than the legitimate ID. Can you spot other indicators? On the real ID, the word Georgia is clearer and more prominent. The data categories are titled in blue font, whereas the fake ID has black font. We will teach you about security features issuing agencies use for security, such as rainbow printing, microprint, ultraviolet features, laser features, and much more. In the second half of the course, you will learn the methodology of evaluating the identification of the person in front of you, including assessing their declared identity, testing their cover story, and you'll get tips on how to compare the actual person to the documentation that is being presented as seen in this slide from the course. We will cover how to question a suspicious person, what the physical signs of lying are, and give you insight to what the future of ID verification looks like. As always, your security personnel will get a quiz at the end of the course to test their knowledge, and with Chameleon's state-of-the-art learning management system, as an account administrator, you can check the student's progress and test results at any time from your computer or phone. When finished and with a passing score on the quiz, students are allowed to print out a certificate of successful completion. Chameleon Associates Online Learning, making intelligent security a reality.